The Omen, a prophetic nightmare, curse number 10. The 1976 horror classic about the Antichrist became a living nightmare for everyone involved. Gregory Peck's son tragically took his own life during production. Days later, Peck's plane was struck by lightning. The screenwriter David Seltzer was also hit by lightning on a separate flight. Special effects designer John Richardson survived a car accident that killed his assistant, Liz Moore, who was decapitated. The crash happened on Friday the 13th, and the road sign nearby read Omen 66.6 kilometers, the mark of the beast. A plane carrying animal handlers crashed, killing everyone on board. A hotel where the cast stayed was bombed by the IRA. Many believe the subject matter itself invited something sinister onto the set. But if you think that's disturbing, wait until you hear about a film that cursed an entire building. Rosemary's Baby, The Curse That Wouldn't End, curse number 9. Roman Polanski's 1968 film about a woman pregnant with the devil's child unleashed real-world horror. 1 year after release, Polanski's pregnant wife, Sharon Tate, was brutally murdered by the Manson family. She was 8.5 months pregnant. Composer Krzysztof Komeda died from a blood clot after falling off a cliff. Producer William Castle suffered kidney failure and cried out, "Rosemary, for God's sake, drop that knife," while being rushed to the hospital. The film was shot at the Dakota Building in New York City. 12 years later, John Lennon was murdered right outside. The Dakota has a dark history of mysterious deaths, spanning over a century. Some say the film awakened something sleeping in that building's walls. And speaking of awakenings, the next curse involves a death predicted by the script itself. The Crow, a tragedy written in the script, curse number 8. Brandon Lee was filming his breakthrough role in 1993 when a prop gun malfunctioned. A real bullet fragment lodged in the barrel fired with lethal force, hitting Brandon in the abdomen. He died hours later at just 28 years old. His character dies at the beginning and returns from the dead. Brandon filmed a scene saying, "Abashed, the devil stood and felt how awful goodness is," the day before he died. His father, Bruce Lee, died mysteriously at 32 while filming Game of Death. Both died during productions at young ages in bizarre circumstances. Bruce died from a cerebral edema after taking a painkiller, a reaction so rare doctors couldn't explain it. Some believe the Lee family was cursed. Others point to the Crow's dark themes of death, resurrection, and vengeance. Did it demand a real sacrifice? The film was completed using CGI and body doubles. Cast members said the set felt heavy and haunted after his death, and refused to discuss certain aspects of production. If one death is a tragedy, what do you call it when multiple cast members die within years? That's a body count. Poltergeist, the franchise of death, curse number 7. If there's one curse horror fans know by heart, it's Poltergeist. This trilogy has a body count that rivals any slasher film, except these deaths were real. 4 cast members died within 6 years. Dominique Dunne was strangled by her ex-boyfriend 4 months after premiere. She was 22. Julian Beck died of stomach cancer before Poltergeist 2 was released. Will Sampson died from kidney failure a year after filming. Heather O'Rourke, the little girl who said, "They're here," died during routine surgery at just 12 years old. Here's what makes people believe this curse is real. The production used actual human skeletons as props in the pool scene. Real human remains, cheaper than replicas. The cast wasn't told until years later. JoBeth Williams, who filmed that scene, felt disturbed but couldn't explain why. She was literally swimming with corpses. She said she felt like she was being touched by hands, underwater, hands that weren't from the crew. When she learned the truth years later, it explained the overwhelming dread she experienced. The spirits didn't want to be disturbed. They didn't want to be used as props. And they took their revenge. But real human remains are one thing. What about exposure to something invisible and radioactive? Before we continue, hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications. The curses ahead get even more disturbing. Now, let's talk about Hollywood's deadliest production. The Conqueror, Hollywood's deadliest film, curse number 6. This 1956 film starring John Wayne was filmed downwind from a nuclear testing site in Nevada. Yucca Flat. Ground zero for dozens of atomic bomb tests. The cast and crew were exposed to massive radiation. Within 25 years, 91 of the 220 people developed cancer. 46 died from it, 3 times higher than average. The victims included John Wayne, Susan Hayward, Agnes Moorehead, and director Dick Powell. The director had 60 tons of radioactive dirt shipped back to Hollywood for reshoots. Cast members rolled in it, breathed it, took it home on their clothes. Declassified documents proved the government knew the area was contaminated, but allowed filming anyway. Pedro Armendariz was diagnosed with cancer and took his own life rather than suffer through the final stages. This curse reminds us that sometimes the real monsters are in the decisions people make and the lies governments tell. The invisible poison you can't see, smell, or taste until it's killing you. But radiation kills slowly. What about a curse targeting anyone who plays a specific hero? Superman, the hero's curse, curse number 5. The Superman curse haunted everyone who donned the red cape. George Reeves played Superman in the 1950s and was found dead from a gunshot in 1959. The official ruling was suicide, but evidence suggested murder. Multiple bullet holes, no gunpowder residue, witnesses heard arguing. The case remains unsolved. Christopher Reeve embodied Superman in 1978, then in 1995 was thrown from a horse. He landed head first, his skull separated from his spine. Paralyzed from the neck down, he died in 2004. He was only 52. His wife Dana died of lung cancer 17 months later. She'd never smoked. Their son was orphaned at 13. Margot Kidder struggled with severe bipolar disorder and was found homeless during a manic episode. She died by suicide in 2018. Lee Quigley, who played baby Superman, died at 14 from solvent abuse. Some believe the curse comes from trying to embody a godlike figure. When the pattern repeats across generations, you have to wonder if there's something about Superman that rejects anyone who tries to become him. Speaking of patterns, the next curse isn't about a film at all, but a script that's left bodies behind. Atuk, the script that kills, curse number 4. Atuk is an unproduced comedy about an Eskimo warrior in New York. Every major comedian who seriously considered the lead role has died shortly after. John Belushi read it in 1982 and died of an overdose at 33. Sam Kinison was attached and died in a car crash in 1992 at 38. John Candy was in talks and died of a heart attack in 1994 at 43. Chris Farley read it in 1997 and died of an overdose at 33, just like Belushi, in eerily similar circumstances. Phil Hartman showed interest and was murdered by his wife in 1998 at 49. 6 people, 6 deaths, all within 16 years. The script still exists, locked away. No comedian will touch it. Studios won't greenlight it. Some say it's cursed by an angry spirit. Others think it's coincidence involving comedians who lived hard. But would you risk reading it? But a cursed script is one thing. What about a film where the audience became part of the curse? The Exorcist. When fiction becomes reality, curse number 3. The Exorcist wasn't just controversial in 1973. It was dangerous. 9 people connected to the film died during or shortly after production. The set burned down except for one room. Reagan's bedroom, where the exorcism takes place, that single room survived untouched. Fire investigators couldn't explain it. Jack McGowan died of flu complications weeks after filming. Ellen Burstyn suffered permanent spinal damage when crew pulled a wire too hard. Her scream in that scene is real. Linda Blair, just 14, received death threats and needed psychiatric counseling. The audience reactions were extreme. People fainted, vomited, ran out screaming. Heart attacks during screenings. 2 women had miscarriages they attributed to the film. A bus crashed into a theater opening weekend. In Rome, lightning struck the theater and dislodged a medieval cross from the building. Director William Friedkin had a priest bless the set, but many believe it came too late. Cameras broke for no reason. Sound equipment picked up strange voices. Mercedes McCambridge, who voiced the demon, said during some takes she felt like something else was speaking through her. To this day, people involved say there was something genuinely wrong during production. Something evil. When you make a film about demonic possession, does that invite something real? And can you ever make it leave? But if a demonic curse is terrifying, what about darkness behind a beloved children's classic? The Wizard of Oz. Darkness Behind the Rainbow, Curse number 2. The Wizard of Oz is beloved, but its production was a nightmare. Judy Garland was 16 when cast as Dorothy. The studio gave her amphetamines for 14-hour days and barbiturates to sleep. This started an addiction that killed her at 47 by overdose. They starved her on soup, coffee, and cigarettes. Pills to suppress appetite, then more pills to make her energetic. They created an addiction cycle that destroyed her life. Buddy Ebsen, the original Tin Man, nearly died from aluminum powder makeup. His lungs seized up. He was hospitalized and replaced, suffering respiratory problems for life. Margaret Hamilton suffered severe burns when pyrotechnics went wrong. She was engulfed in fire with second and third degree burns. Her copper-based makeup was so toxic, doctors couldn't treat her immediately. Her stunt double, Betty Danko, was severely injured when the broomstick exploded during a flying scene. The production just hired someone else. The Munchkin actors were paid less than the dog playing Toto and housed in poor conditions. The Cowardly Lion costume weighed 60 pounds and rotted from sweat under hot lights. The yellow brick road was paved with pain and exploitation. Behind the fantasy was abuse that destroyed lives. The Wizard of Oz is still celebrated, but now you'll know what it cost. You'll see Judy's drugged smile. You'll see the suffering behind the wonder. That might be the most insidious curse, creating something so beautiful we forget the darkness that made it possible. But there's one more curse, the most controversial. If you've made it this far, hit that like button and subscribe with notifications on because the final curse might be the most shocking yet. The Passion of the Christ, Divine Intervention or Dark Omen. Curse number 1. Mel Gibson's 2004 film about the crucifixion was plagued with biblical incidents. Spiritual warfare or unlucky production? You decide. Jim Caviezel, who played Jesus, was struck by lightning twice during the Sermon on the Mount. Twice in the same shoot? The lightning strike was caught on camera. You can see the bolt hit him, his hair stand on end, his body jerk. Caviezel suffered hypothermia multiple times, body temperature dropping dangerously low. He dislocated his shoulder when the cross dropped during filming. He developed pneumonia and a lung infection. During the whipping scene, the whip struck Caviezel for real, leaving a deep gash that became infected. He bears the scar today, his stigmata. Assistant John Michelini was struck by lightning. Producer Steve McEvedy was struck too. 3 people on one film. Meteorologists said the odds were nearly impossible. The set was hit by storms, high winds, and equipment failures. Crew members said it felt like something was fighting against the film being made. Caviezel's career was permanently damaged. He was blacklisted from major Hollywood afterward. He's called it the cost of bearing the cross, and said he'd do it again. Gibson felt a dark presence during filming, something trying to stop the movie. Equipment failing at crucial times. Actors injured before important scenes. The film was released to massive controversy, accused of anti-Semitism and excessive violence. But it made over $600 million worldwide, becoming one of the highest-grossing R-rated films ever. Some believe depicting the crucifixion carries a spiritual burden mortals aren't meant to bear. Others think it was punishment for being too brutal. Some say dark forces tried to stop the film from reaching audiences. Caviezel believes it was a spiritual battle. He said the suffering he endured was nothing compared to Christ, and experiencing even a fraction changed him forever. When you depict what billions hold as the holiest moment in history, do you open a door that shouldn't be opened? The Passion of the Christ remains one of the most divisive productions in history. Everyone involved was changed, and not always for the better. 10 movie curses that blur the line between coincidence and something darker. From radioactive sets to lightning strikes, from prop guns to real skeletons. Whether you believe in curses or not, these stories remind us filmmaking can come with a price. Sometimes paid in blood, sometimes in suffering, sometimes in ways we can't understand until years later. Which curse is the most terrifying? Let me know in the comments. If you enjoyed this deep dive, like this video, subscribe, and hit that notification bell. Thanks for watching, stay curious, and maybe stay away from cursed film sets.